Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nerdcast. We made it to 2020. It's the year 2020. Holy shit.
We're still alive.
This is the future. Like in all of the sci-fi stuff that I used to watch as a kid, like it was always 2020, this 2020 and that 2020. We are in 2020. How's everybody doing? I'm Devin. I'm joined as always by Justin and Kelly manning the boards over there.
Hello.
How's everybody doing? It's the new year. It's off to a very tenuous start.
I was going to say, you're really chipper, man. You're feeling this new year.
Oh, well, you know what? I've been waiting for death for a long time, and it seems like it's finally coming.
Waiting. From South Park. I was like, when's the world going to end, Mom? She's like, we don't know. We hope it ends soon.
You know, the funny thing is, so, like, obviously, you know, Australia's on fire, and, you know, bombs are dropping places and whatnot. It's a weird 5-6 days into the year, so there's lots going on, and we've got a lot to catch up on from last year.
Yeah.
So, how was your holidays?
It was really, really, really great.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was a
really,
great
really
holiday.
great. You went to Colorado.
I went to Colorado. I went to Buena Vista, which if you haven't gone there, it's a great little town. Did some snowboarding at Monarch and just hung out and then drove back. It was great.
Awesome. Kelly, what were you up to?
Nothing. Just had a nice relaxing time off. Didn't do very much, but sometimes it's good just to recharge.
Yeah, well, that's all I did, really. Just lie around the house doing nothing. But
nice. What'd you play? What were you playing?
What did I play? I know that a game store here had a buy two get two. So actually, yeah, I've been playing a bit. I picked up The Last Guardian. These are all PlayStation 4 titles. I picked up The Last Guardian.
Cool.
I picked up Death Stranding.
Nice. You went there.
I picked up No Man's Sky. And God, I can't remember the fourth game.
I hear No Man's Sky is cool now. They kept patching it until it's cool.
I guess everybody wanted the multiplayer aspect of it or something like that. And I was never a multiplayer person, it's an awesome game.
If I want multiplayer, I'll go to a gym or something, find some guys playing sports outside. It's like,
well, believe me, it's an awesome game. It's a really cool, like there's nothing like getting in your ship and getting off the Earth and pointing at the sky and exiting the atmosphere and being in the stars and hitting warp drive and flying in real time to another planet.
That sounds really awesome.
All of it's super fucking awesome. But like after a while, like the story seems vague and it just feels like you're in a dead world.
Yeah.
So, like,
it's procedurally generated, and I've got a friend, and we were talking. He's like, procedurally generated. It's the new thing. And I was like, seems like you kind of need a guy to be like, this is why we're here. This is what we're doing. This is why it's fun. Otherwise, you're just kind of
you're just kind
fucking
of messing around.
Yeah,
it's all fetch quests in a dead world. So I had fun with it.
Fetch quests in a dead world. No Man's Sky coming to a console near you.
I had fun with it, but after a while, I had to put it aside. I did start Death Stranding. And that is a fucking weird one.
Yeah.
That's a strange game.
Looks pretty weird.
We could talk about that one a little later. But
nice.
Also, but over the holidays, so obviously, if you watch the channel, you've seen probably our Star Wars retrospective. If you haven't, check it out. Like, subscribe, and all that shit. And then go check out our Star Wars retrospective. We talk about all of the Skywalker saga movies leading up to The Rise of Skywalker, which I did also watch just prior to the break. So in this section of video, like normally we do some new stuff, no new stuff today. We're just going to talk about, because we also left off on an episode of The Mandalorian that we weren't too keen on.
Oh, really? We haven't done one since then?
We haven't done one since then.
They recovered really strong.
So we've got 3 Mando episodes that we're gonna run through.
This is a Star Wars heavy.
This is the sword that's going to be driven right to the hilt of Star Wars, and then after that, no more Star Wars probably for a while
until Clone Wars comes back.
Yeah,
but then we got Witcher, which we're not going to get into this time. Yet. But we have thoughts.
We've got some things to say about Witcher.
Yeah, we do.
Stay tuned. Like I said, like and subscribe and share and all that shit. We'll be talking about The Witcher. I've also been putting up some game reviews. I put a game review for Link's Awakening. So I
loved Link's Awakening.
Oh, I did too.
I actually, and then people are going to think I'm crazy. I preferred it to Breath of the Wild. I preferred it to Breath of the Wild. It just felt more like playing Zelda to me.
Yeah, well, it is. It is.
And the other game, while Breath of the Wild was very cool, it was really fun.
It was not
Zelda. It was not Zelda. It was,
as you recall it. Yeah.
You know,
I get that. That's a fair point.
It's like Witcher for kids or Skyrim for kids or something.
Well, if you want to know what probably closer to Skyrim than Witcher. But
certainly.
If you want to know what I thought, the video's on the channel. So we're going to talk about those 3 episodes of The Mandalorian, and then we're going to talk about The Rise of Skywalker. So let's just jump into this thing.
Cool, let's do it.
The last episode that we talked about The Mandalorian, and Kelly, you're going to have to get some episode names for us. Because I completely forgot all of those names.
It was called The Gunslinger.
The Gunslinger was the one.
Was the last one we watched.
Yeah, that was the last one we watched. The one after that, what was that called?
The Prisoner.
The Prisoner. So, okay. Yeah, we did not have really good thoughts on The Gunslinger. The Prisoner.
A bit of a misstep in an otherwise strong season, I felt.
Oh, yeah. The Prisoner, on the other hand,
just fun.
Super excellent episode.
Yes,
I loved it from top to bottom.
Yeah, I got to say, I really enjoyed this episode.
Okay, first and foremost, the soundtrack, and we haven't talked enough about the soundtrack for this show because it's fucking amazing, and it really carried through. Like I was debating on whether or not I wanted to say this. I'm gonna say it because we mentioned it, and we mentioned it in just about every episode. I'm gonna mention it again. This was a lot like The Witcher. It was a lot like that quest where you had to get Max Bersodi's house, so he gets the gang in there, and they
put together a team.
Yeah.
Okay. Has anyone seen this season's episode of Rick and Morty where they have to put together a squad?
No,
a team?
I haven't seen Rick and Morty in a while.
Dude, that episode is fucking hilarious and awesome and also apropos. You know what I mean?
So I'm gonna put that on the list. But no, I love, and maybe, I don't know, maybe this is just like the fucking male lizard brain that I have. I love scenes like that. I love, we got to get the gang together. And then it's all dark and seedy, and it's like, this is the guy he's our muscle, and she's our whatever. And like all of that was super cool. Made more cool by the fact that one of my favorite comedians, Bill Burr.
Yeah, Bill Burr was legit good.
He was legit good. He brought a Bostonian accent to the Star Wars universe, but more important than that is he brought a character type that I haven't seen in a Star Wars universe.
Space
or
Boston.
Really, what was that, Kelly?
Space Boston.
Well,
Space Boston.
Yeah, but he was a ball buster.
Boston.
Like in a lot of comedy in Star Wars and in a lot of movies, sci-fi adventure movies itself, it's a lot witty and kind of hipster, sarcastic, whatever, and that's not Bill Burr's thing. He was just a straight up like old school, Boston ball buster, and I loved it.
There was a certain degree of menace. Like when they were like, what are you, a gungan? They were fucking with him,
they were fucking with him.
And it was kind of menacing, like, like they're
when he was like, but you never take that helmet off?
Yeah, like they're going to take it off, and then we should take it off. Of course, because you've watched the show, it's like, you do, and you will all be ripped to fucking pieces by this guy.
Right.
But, you're still like, try to take it off.
Yeah.
I want you to try. It's like that scene from Pulp Fiction. I want you to do it. It's like reach for the gun. You want to, but they're fucking with him, and you're waiting for
it to explode.
He's gonna lose his shit, and you guys are gonna be in trouble.
Yeah, so like they're all about like the entire premise of this episode is he gets a job where he has to help a gang bust a dude out of a Republic space prison thing.
Because he's just trying to earn money.
He's trying to earn money.
Cruising around, hitting up old contacts. He's on LinkedIn. He's on Space LinkedIn. He's like, say, you need a gunslinger?
Yeah. It's like TaskRabbit for bounty hunters. But so the gang, pretty interesting makeup. But I didn't really care for the characters, really. Like the big dude, didn't really care much for him. He was interesting.
He was cool.
Yeah, he was interesting, but whatever. And same with the Twi'lek.
Like, yeah, well, I liked her because that was Osha from Game of Thrones.
Was it?
It was.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm glad she's getting some work still.
Yeah, I kind of like that she had like a history with the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
They didn't go way into it, but they touched on it. She was obviously a sociopath on some level.
And she did not have fond feelings. In fact, it seems like the funny thing is that like I'm almost amazed at how many people want to fuck with this dude.
Yeah.
Like it seems like every episode, people are just trying to fuck with this guy.
He definitely marches to his own drummer. He seems like whoever he's hanging with, if shit goes the other way, he's like Space Neil Young. You know what I mean? He's fucking out the door. You know?
So yeah, they try to fuck with them, and of course it's fucking hilarious that Bill Burr drops Baby Yoda, you know, and he got shit on Twitter for that, where people were like, yeah, you dropped Baby Yoda, and he was like, first of all,
newsflash,
like,
Tom Brokaw,
yeah.
Baby Yoda's not real.
It's not a real thing, motherfuckers. It's just a little doll. But like he was defending it. He was like, you know, actually the damn cyborg dropped out of hyperspace without warning us, so that's why blah blah blah. It's like, oh man, all right, well that's what you want to do is defend
Bill
yourself.
Burr was actually using Star Wars parlance to defend his character's decision.
Famous Star Wars trasher Bill Burr was using Star Wars parlance to defend his character.
Because he like is basically, I don't like Star Wars.
All right, here's the deal. I didn't drop the baby Yoda. All right, that Yoga. I didn't drop the baby Yoda. Okay, the fucking robot dude came out of hyperspace and he didn't tell anybody. All right? Till you're in hyperspace holding a fucking baby and some robot, all right, like that's not unsettling enough, is driving the fucking thing and slams on the brakes. Let's see how you do. All right? Walk a mile in my fucking space slippers before you fucking come at me.
He's like on there now.
Oh,
like,
we
came out of hyperspace to
he's had comedy bits ripping Star Wars, and then he's like,
Bill.
well, first of all, the cyborg jumped out of hyperspace without warning us. It's like, all right, well, you're not wrong, but come on, guy, you lost
just
the battle.
like Admiral Ozzel from Empire Strikes Back. He's as lazy as he is stupid.
So okay, they like the meat of this episode was when they were actually on that ship, and you got to see each person kind of display their own talent. You know, like obviously they were fucking with this dude, the Mandalorian, from moment one. So when they come across that gang of robots, they just kind of sit back and you're like, oh, let's let him handle this. And like he systematically like destroys 4 droids.
Yeah, he does.
But for some reason, like this still doesn't connect. Click with
No,
them.
it doesn't.
Like okay, maybe this dude's legit, and we should.
Because they had started, the whole thing was like, fuck the Mando. That was like almost like, get the guy, fuck the Mando. Because I guess the Mando is the reason that guy ended up getting caught or whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess they thought this was like poetic justice. We'll hire him back, have him free the guy, and then we'll fuck him up, you know? And yeah, at no point are they like, oh, okay, maybe this isn't going to go the way we think, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, they should have thought that when he ripped that damn droid's head off and rolling towards their feet. Like, that should have been the moment.
Boss.
It's like, okay, maybe this isn't. But yeah, so, you know, this episode was fantastic. The action pieces were awesome. I loved, and then, like, so they double cross him. They put him in the prison cell, and then it turns into a fucking horror movie.
It does turn into a horror movie, which is really cool. It kind of has echoes of Alien. You know what I mean?
Like he's just stalking these people one by one.
Yeah.
And you're just waiting. And I kind of wanted to see like some fighting, and you got a little bit of it with the Twi'lek. She you know, threw some daggers at him and dropped his gun and whatnot. But for everything else, and then he got into a fight with the
he got into a fight with the big guy
dude.
that was awesome.
Like that was the brawl.
That guy was wrecking his shit, but then, you know, of course he's the Mandalorian, so
he
fucking closed the door on him. That was great. And then the guy like thought, he's like, I got it. He was like,
close the other door. Boom.
You done.
Yeah, and then, you know, he gets back to the ship, and right before the droid that was part of the gang could, you know, kill little Yoda thing.
Before Yoda could kill the droid.
Well,
Yoda was about to wreck that droid, dude.
But it was
crushed it like a tin can.
You didn't really know, though, because, you know, his arm was raised, but, you know, that blaster could shoot at any second, but it didn't matter because Mando blasted him back.
Bolt. Kylo Ren style.
I don't know if Yoda is that. He's a little baby. I don't know if he's. Anyways, so they get back to the space station. You know, it was a pretty clever play that they did, where, you know, he had the beacon where they called for
that was
backup,
awesome.
And then like
kill him.
they just drop out, and they're like, "Hey, it looks like we have a space station here." It was very procedural. It's like, looks like they're about to launch a warfighter.
It was David Filoni and
were they the
Deborah Chow?
Yeah, Deborah Chow. And Rick
okay,
Moranis.
cool. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was the 3.
That's
directors.
awesome. Then they got their piece. They did. Piece. Yeah, that was a great. So that episode brought us back from the misstep of Gunslinger in a big way.
It was funny, that Rick and Morty episode was particularly apropos because it has all the same elements of like, you think you double crossed me, but I double crossed you. But I mean, to asinine Rick and Morty level of proportions. I mean, it's just off the charts. Like in every way imaginable. It's a really great episode.
All right, I'm gonna have to add that to my list. So we could talk about the last 2 episodes in one chunk because it's a 1-2.
Yeah,
it's a 2-parter. Where what are the names of this episode?
I know the last one is
7 is the Reckoning, and 8 is the Redemption.
Yeah,
Reckoning and Redemption. Okay. So at the start of the reckoning, then he's flying in space and gets a call from Grief, Carl Weathers, saying, "Hey, we can do this forever, but eventually you're going to lose. So let's just come back and strike a deal, and you can kill the client, and we'll clear your name and all that sort of stuff." It's the only way he'll be able to be rid of all the bounty hunters chasing him down. So he decides to go back to the planet, but first he gathers his own gang. It's another. We got to get the gang.
Well, it's true because then it kind of makes sense from the it's like he goes and gets there from this thing.
Yeah.
Goes Quill from the earlier episode gets
it connects the episodes from earlier.
It does. It was a good episode. I
liked it too.
I enjoyed it. I liked that episode a lot, and of course the last episode was really good.
The last episode. So the cool. Okay, so there's just to set up into. I guess maybe a larger criticism of Star Wars in general. Okay. So he makes this deal with Grief, and they go down to the planet and whatnot, and obviously Grief was going to betray him. We knew that from the start.
Yeah. And the whole thing kind of seemed like really the only way for you to solve this problem is to get the Mandalorian to come back, and I didn't think too much about
the plot like that.
Them asking him to come back.
That scheme itself was a little loose.
Yeah,
but
it's like he's going back. He's like, "Fuck it, I'm going back."
The point is, you need to get him back on the planet.
Yeah.
So
from his point of view, he's like, "Yeah, probably betray me, whatever. I got to go back and deal with this."
Yeah,
shit.
he was ready for whether he was gonna kill the client or kill
everybody.
He was getting ready.
He brought the shock trooper, and he was ready to kill everybody.
So but because they were attacked by dragons or whatever, and Carl Weathers was injured, and Baby Yoda did the Yoda.
I loved that dragon attack scene.
That was cool.
That was really cool.
Really awesome.
Yeah.
Like the way that it was shot, like it was all dark, and you could only see the dragons when they were blasting the blaster fire at it.
Visually, it was awesome. Deborah Chow is obviously a really great director. Visually, it was awesome. It felt super Star Warsy and new. It just felt like some cool ass sci-fi. We're on this fucking crazy planet. These things. It's night. These things show up. And the whole thing was really cool. I really loved that sequence.
Yeah, I love that sequence too. And of course it's set up for, Grief, after having been saved by Baby Yoda, betrays the betrayers.
Yeah.
And decides, okay, he's gonna go. He's actually on the Mandalorian side, and he's gonna go in. They're gonna, flip one on Werner Herzog's character, the client, and then everything will be straight. But while they're in the middle of that process, the TIE fighter thing lands, and
awesome.
A shit ton of pristine, not like all the jacked and burnt up stormtroopers, like pristine stormtroopers come out and just blast the shit out of this building. To which and then there was revealed that it was a Moff Gideon.
Moff Gideon.
And my reaction was, there are still Moffs? Why are there still Moffs?
Well, I mean, it's just like the Roman Empire, dude. I mean, when the Roman Empire fell, any general who had a bunch of troops and a bunch of shit was just like, president, vice president. I mean, they basically just like
but there was like a republic. The republic itself.
Yeah, but it's way in the center of the galaxy. This is way in the outer rim, man. And so it's like,
so these are just warlords that are just out,
just like the Roman Empire. He was a Moff. He was in charge of everybody. You know what I mean? And then the Empire crumbled, and he was like, well, I'm still in charge, and I've still got the fucking Star Destroyers and the TIE Fighters and all the guys. If you guys all play by my rules, we'll just keep doing what we're doing. Regional governors and shit. He's like, we're just going to keep doing this. You want to keep showing up? We can do all the same things we can do. We can collect taxes from the people and everything,
Huh. Yeah, I guess that makes some sense. But it's just it's just one of those things, though, where it's like, we're never really we're not, and the benefit for this story is the fact that it doesn't really get into the weeds of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
It's a character story about, the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So you don't really need to know about the weeds of the Star Wars universe, except for, to me personally, because I am annoyed by the fact that it's just the same retellings of villains and, the Empire and stormtroopers, and it never changes, no whether it's like the First Order or not, or the Empire is crushed, but we're still dealing with stormtroopers. Like, when I see that happen, to me, it's like, oh, we're falling back on the same tropes.
No, I mean, this makes perfect sense.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. I'm just saying that it was more of a letdown to me than if it was something different.
Oh, I knew this guy was coming, so yeah, I don't,
You knew a Moff was going to show up?
Yeah, I knew that
I think a lot of people thought it was going to be Boba Fett.
Well, Boba Fett still might be out there. I think because the way that the episode was described, in the thing, it was like an unexpected enemy or whatever, and they thought from episode 5, that it's going to be Boba Fett. It wasn't Boba Fett. I knew that Giancarlo Esposito was in the show. I knew that he played a character named Moff Gideon.
Okay, well, that's when you knew. That's why you knew a Moff was going to show up.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even in the trailer before the first episode of the show, they show Moff Gideon in the TIE fighter, the Mandalorian, like uses the thing and comes up onto the top of it.
They showed that?
Yeah.
I guess I
really,
didn't see
really
that.
quick. I had seen that. I mean, I knew what to expect in that regard, and I knew that it was essentially the same reason that Werner Herzog was. These guys are just. This is just the remnants of the Empire.
Well, I guess as somebody that didn't have like that level of information, I didn't have any supplemental stuff.
Yeah.
I just watched the show as it was presented. It still kind of struck me as damn, it's just stormtroopers. It's just stormtroopers and a Moff again. It's like we went through this story before. Like I don't want Moffs and stormtroopers. I want something like it would have, even if it was still like a dude with a bunch of guys with guns that showed up. If it was like some weird regional warlord that had a hodgepodge of armor and shit or whatever, or any other kind of thing that wasn't just a Moff and stormtroopers.
He's got the Darksaber.
And that was cool. So that was actually a really cool
thing. There's a lot more to
I know that,
and possibly a lot more to Moff Gideon. Moff Gideon might actually be a Mandalorian himself.
Well, yeah, and I feel like the Darksaber introduction and all that is definitely like the leading into the story of like the Mandalore, like the history of the Mandalore and all that sort of stuff.
But also kind of what happened with the Purge and all that stuff. I mean, there's obviously a ton of story that's going to
it's going to lead into it for certain, and that's cool. That's fine. But I'm just saying that my initial thought on that was, why are we doing this?
It's funny. Now, I didn't read all the Expanded Universe books. I only really read one, but I know a lot about it because of all the chatter and stuff. And it seems like in general, the remnants of the Empire it took a lot longer in the Expanded Universe for the battle to really be won against the Empire.
Yeah.
Like, the Emperor died, the Return of the Jedi, but then there's all the stuff with Thrawn and all, that there's Heir to the Empire, all those books that people loved. All that was wiped away when Disney wiped the canon.
Right.
And they make the Empire falling much faster on Jakku, So the Jakku is the next battle after Endor, and that's where the Empire really had their asses handed to them. But in all the Expanded Universe books, generally that were about that post period, generally some variation of the Empire
still
was still the main antagonist. It was various Moffs. Or I read a book called Darksaber, and it was about some guys who were Moffs or something, or admirals, and they were trying to get their hands on a laser part of a Death Star.
I feel like. And I feel like, our conversation around this is a good segue into our Rise of Skywalker review. So let's just put that aside for a little bit.
Well, let me finish my thought really fast, though. So in the Expanded Universe, there was an enemy eventually that had nothing to do with, and they were from the outer regions. They were called the Yuzan Vong. You know what I mean? And they were immune to the Force, and I haven't really heard anyone talk about those characters like they were interesting.
It was Expanded Universe.
Well, the problem was, and it's the same problem, and we can talk about this when we talk about the sequel trilogy as a whole and what people wanted versus what they got. The problem with having Luke be the main character in those books going forward, and he does it, the enemies have to start getting more.
It's Dragon Ball. It's Dragon Ball
amazing.
Z. It's Dragon Ball Z. For those of you who haven't watched Dragon Ball Z, the problem is like the main character, like he trains as a martial artist, and then an alien comes down from space, and he's just so strong, but I barely beat him. But now there's another alien that's gonna come, and he's 10 times stronger than me, and then he has to train to get even stronger, and then you repeat that cycle to the point where like by season 8 or 9, like the enemy that comes to Earth is basically he could just snap his fingers and destroy the galaxy. You know?
I mean, it's like that episode of The Simpsons where Itchy and Scratchy are fighting each other, and eventually their guns just keep getting bigger and bigger, and they're like the size of the planet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the problem. And so in Expanded Universe, you've got you've got this creature called Abeloth, who is some kind of like weird force goddess or something, who's like ancient evil, and she's so fucking powerful because it's the only thing that presents any challenge to Luke Skywalker as he gets more and more powerful.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you know, it's diminishing returns from a unless you're just listening to people describe awesome powers.
Well, but that's kind of a thing with, and it's a larger critique of Star Wars where it's like, you know what, maybe, and I think this is where, if we really want to get off into the weeds, I think this is where Rian Johnson, where he took Last Jedi, made it more interesting, at least, in that it wasn't so much about, oh, this guy's got this much force power and this guy's got this much force power. It was a much more interpersonal story. It was much more about a conflict within, you know, the psychology.
There was less gamification of the force.
And that could build much more interesting stories than just, oh, these bad guys are stronger, so now we're gonna have to have a good guy that's even stronger.
If you watch Star Wars YouTube channels, I mean, it's all about, it's like when he was at the height of his power and he was thinking how powerful he would be.
Oh yeah, of course.
You know, it reminds me of that South Park where it's about, you know, and his penis is really big. And then it's George R. R. Martin and he has a really big penis. I mean, it's just really, people are so eaten up with, you know what I mean? And it's like, guys, I don't know.
And that's I guess maybe
everyone has something different.
Digging down to that, maybe that's the root of my issue with the Moff and the stormtroopers popping up, is that it just felt like, now this guy is really strong, and you know he's the big baddie. Like all these stormtroopers, they've got clean armor. They're not these rugged, dirty guys. They're like the ones from the movies. It's like, oh, you know, I don't really need that. Like it would have been much more. I was waiting for something interesting, like when he goes. When the client goes to answer the call, and then he slips the Mandalorian his gun, I was like, all right, let's see what happens with this situation. Like, what could possibly happen where that sees this to anything close to a logical conclusion? Because even if he kills this dude, they're surrounded by many, many more that'll get the drop on him right away. And maybe the Mandalorian will survive because he's got all that Beskar steel, but the other two, there's not much luck. And then there's the baby. So it's like, is he actually going to kill him? Like the baby's not even there. It's like, is he actually going to kill him or what's going to happen? So like when all of a sudden they get blown away, it was like, holy shit, I wasn't expecting that. But then like it didn't go to something interesting. Like I was expecting, it wasn't interesting to me, I guess is what I'm saying. I mean, the character, the Moff, like, who's the actor that plays him?
Giancarlo Esposito.
Generally intimidating, scary dude. Like
I've actually met him.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, he
seems like a really cool dude.
He is very cool. He may not live in Austin anymore, but he did for a long time because he was on that show Revolution.
Yeah. I think Kelly was actually telling me about that.
After Breaking Bad, he did Revolution, and he moved here to do Revolution. He used to come into Tequila all the time to do ADR.
Oh, cool.
He's really, really nice.
Yeah, he seems definitely. I don't go to like a lot of panels during conventions, but he came in for Wizard World once. Yeah, I don't think he was supposed to do it, but he was in town during Revolution, so he just came. He seemed like the most genuine, nice guy. He was interacting with everyone, walking around, talking to everyone during the panel. He seems like the most legit, down to earth, actual cool guy.
He's really nice.
That's cool. That always makes me happy to hear that. Like, you know, it's always nice when someone's a good person.
Yeah.
So, and this dire world we live in,
truly,
good people are hard to come by, and it's nice to know that somebody in the movie realm is a good person. So, cheers to Moff Gideon, as his character. And let's get to the last episode. Oh man, my favorite scene is the two stormtroopers, played by Adam Pally and Jason Sudeikis, where they're just being dumb guards. Yeah. And that was always a favorite trope of mine in like comic books or media or any kind of TV shows or whatever. Whenever there are just two guards that just have like a moment or whatever. And it's just like, it was always interesting to me because it makes me think, what is their life like outside of being a thug? Like, what are these guys actually like? You know? So like they're sitting, okay, so the end of the first episode, Moff Gideon shows up. he kills the client and whatnot, and they eavesdrop on a radio transmission between the Mandalorian and Quill, who is racing back to the ship with Baby Yoda, so they could lock it down and be secure. Couple stormtroopers zoom off on speeders. They catch up to Quill, and unfortunately, they blast him, and they take the baby. So the episode starts off with, actually, I forget how it actually
starts off with just them riding over the dunes with Baby Yoda.
I think that's what I thought it did. So they're with Yoda, and Baby Yoda is making the baby noises, and Sudeikis is just punching it, and then he's like, "Shut up!" He's punching it, and every time he hit it, I felt like the world just like throb in a silent rage, and that just made me all the more happier. so and then they're just gabbing and talking and whatnot, trying to figure out what to do with this thing. And they're talking over the intercom to the stormtroopers that have the Mandalorian pinned down, and they're like, "It's gonna be a while. He just killed a guy for interrupting him, so this could take."
I love it. I love I really enjoy stormtrooper banter.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Even in the first, in New Hope, when it's like, "Have you seen the T-16s? The T-16s?" You know what I mean? Or I love in the Force Awakens when the two stormtroopers are walking in the hall
and then they see Kylo raging and they stop.
Shop, and he's like, "Whoa, hold on a minute, man." Love that kind of shit. And this was right down there. He's like, "Yeah, he just killed a guy. This is gonna take a while." He's like, "All right." So they're sitting there.
And they pull out their guns. He tries to shoot that can. He can't get it.
He shakes the gun like that's the problem. Yeah.
So then, they're talking about the thing. He wants to see the baby, and he opens the pouch and is like, "Oh, this is a weird thing, whatever." And then Baby Yoda bites him, and he's like, "Ah!" Boom! Punches it right in the face.
Punches the shit out of it.
Punches the shit. I was actually surprised they went that far. Like, he punched the shit out of that.
Which is hilarious because he used the whole, you hit it pretty hard to actually get access to Baby Yoda the first time. We probably should check it.
Exactly.
And then he fucking just lays into it.
Just lays the fuck into it. And then IG shows up and just, makes short work of those dudes.
IG was pretty awesome.
That was actually a cool scene. Him on the speeder with Baby Yoda, and he flies into the town just blasting dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I would imagine a droid that's trained to shoot things. Like, he doesn't miss. So
no,
so he was
completely 360.
Yeah, 360 mobility.
He jumps off the speeder, and the speeder tumbles and explodes. It was great.
That was a cool moment. So IG shows up, and they have their firefight in the town, and that was actually a really cool scene too. That entire action sequence.
I thought Taika Waititi did a great job. I mean,
top to bottom, everything
really
about
felt
it.
That felt like a movie.
The action sequences felt like a movie. Like, even the turns, when IG, had his moment in the room with the Mandalorian as he's dying.
That part.
And he's like, "No living thing could see me." He's like, "I'm not alive." And
actually, my favorite part was with that. It was when later on when he's like, "I've got a self-destruct." He's like, "No, we need you." And he's like, "Don't be sad. I'm not alive." I was like, "I'm not sad."
It's like, "Yes, you are."
Which is totally. It's like, I've seen Jojo Rabbit. He has a really good way of things can be very sad and very, but then he can inject humor right at the same time. He threads that needle really well.
He could seamlessly put humor into a serious moment and not delegitimize the seriousness of the moment, which is a real skill.
Yeah, it really is. And hats off to Pedro Pascal, because you can't see his face.
Yeah, but
all
you
can
can
hear
tell.
is his voice.
You can tell that
the
he's
way
sad.
He's sad. He doesn't want to, but he can't. It was great.
That was a fantastic moment.
Great episode of this show.
It really was. And I was glad the blacksmith showed up.
Oh, dude,
that was awesome.
An excellent fight scene. That she's just waiting for him, and she
smashing him with a blacksmith hammer.
Smashes that dude, and his mass explodes. I was just like, what?
Yeah,
it was great.
It was a little bit. I mean, I really didn't know what to expect. I knew the Mandalorians weren't going to be down there.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect there would be a massacre of them.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite expecting that. You see the pile of helmets and whatnot. That was interesting. That was like oh shit, this is real.
Yeah, these guys aren't fucking around.
Yeah. So I'm sure she says that some may have escaped. So I'm sure some will show up.
She was still there.
But yeah, so they go down there, and he gets his jetpack finally.
Yeah.
He said he wanted to get one of those. So he finally got his jetpack and he bolted out of there. And he got his insignia too.
He did.
So it was the Mudhorn.
Yep.
A clan of 2. So Baby Yoda, I guess, is officially a foundling Mandalorian.
Yeah, dude.
Man, how's that going to work out?
I don't know, but it's pretty cool. I gotta say.
So he's been.
I didn't expect that at all when I started the season.
I didn't expect it at all either.
Baby Yoda Mandalorian.
Let's do it. He's tasked with, he has to find the species because he's too young to be trained in the ways of the Mandalore. So he has to instead find the species, which is an interesting twist because we don't know the fucking species. It's famously the unexplored territory in the Star Wars universe.
Which is cool. It's cool they basically pointed the ship towards the unknown and said, we're going there.
We're going directly right there. So that's really cool too. So yeah, he gets his jetpack and his insignia. They go into the lava ship, and IG self-destructs to kill a bunch of stormtroopers. And then, as cool as all the other action scenes were, the coolest scene was when Moff Gideon flies in on that TIE fighter, and then he's just like, "Give me my jetpack," and he shoots up
straight
and
up,
grapples right onto
great.
it, like that, and the way that it was shot, and he grabs his guns just like shooting down.
Yeah, I can't get to it. It was great, man.
Like just the way that it was framed, and like the camera was up, so you see him shooting down, but you also see Gideon from the body, and he's like, he's like freaking out.
Yeah, he knows that this is not going the way he thought it was going to go.
Exactly. Yeah, and he takes the grenade off of his belt and it flies off into the air and explodes. It's like, okay, I see what you did there. Like you're letting us know.
Yeah, what he's got.
Yeah, and he puts it on there and flies off and explodes. And as soon as that thing crashed, I was like, okay, go check the body.
Yeah,
go check the body. Yeah. What are you doing standing around? Go check the body.
Yeah.
But we knew why they weren't going to go check the body. It's because
my wife was like, he wouldn't live through that. I was like, but he did.
But he did. It went thud. If he was meant to die, it would have went boom.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you see him live through something similar in Force Awakens, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, they crash a TIE fighter in the sand there.
Yeah. Although, funny enough, Poe was supposed to die.
He was. But he got ejected somehow.
Yeah.
But Finn wasn't supposed to die, and he actually landed in the thing. So
I saw an interview or something with Oscar Isaac during his press junket on Rise of Skywalker, and he was like, yeah, I probably should have just let them let me die. I was like, damn. All right,
Jeez.
let us know. Oh, those former stars, they don't have much to good say about Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, really?
Oh, John Boyega's been pretty open about, his distaste with the third movie.
Oh, he was completely talking about how awesome it was before he saw it, I guess.
Before. Anyways, just to wrap this up, Gideon pops out of the crashed TIE fighter with the Darksaber, and that's how it ends.
Yeah, dude,
So
he got it from Bo-Katan somehow.
They set up a lot for a season 2. Like Mandalorians with Baby Yoda, they're part of a clan now. He's got to find his species, so venturing out into space is, an absolute must. Grief is about to reopen the bounty hunter thing on what's the name of that planet?
That planet is called Navarro.
Navarro, yeah. And the shock trooper is gonna stick around too.
Yeah, Cara Dune.
Yeah, Cara Dune. He's gonna be Grief's muscle.
Honestly, I thought she was even better in the last episode.
She was awesome.
Taika Waititi, because some of the previous episodes, she's not the most she is fairly new to acting. She hasn't done a ton of it, And there was some moments where she kind of she had a bit of a Xena warrior princess vibe to her character. But I think he did a good job with her as well.
Oh yeah, for certain.
Yeah, it was a great episode, a great way
to end this in the
season.
Go
out. It was super awesome.
On the whole, this first season of The Mandalorian is double thumbs up.
Yeah, it was great.
Really, really high. The worst episode was the Gunslinger, but even that episode is fine to watch.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a misstep, but.
I think your average person that's not like super into Star Wars and has very little expectations was probably like, fucking Tatooine.
There was probably a lot of that stuff on that episode.
Yeah,
the cantina and all of that.
Yeah,
all of that stuff will probably be fine for those guys. But, favorite episode?
Oh, the last episode.
Last episode. Kelly, favorite episode?
Probably the last one too.
Yeah, I'm gonna say. It's a tie it's a 3-way tie The third episode when he rescues Baby Yoda.
Yeah, that's definitely up there.
That's a great one. The last episode and the prison break episode.
Yeah.
I love, because I just love the characters. I love the interplay. I love the different type of humor that Bill Burr brought to it.
Yeah.
You know, it was great from top to bottom. So those three are tied for my favorite. If I had to give it to one over all of the others, I'd probably give it to the last episode.
Yeah.
Like, just because it had a lot more weight. There was a lot more emotional weight. There was a lot more character development for all the characters, honestly. Like even Grief had good character development.
How enjoyable is it to see Carl Weathers in this show?
Great. Fantastic.
I just really, I was bummed out they were leaving him. I was like, oh,
but I know
Carl can't come.
I know he'll be back in the next season. So long as he still has screen time, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
But I was stoked. Like when he turned around and shot those other two dudes, I was like, I'm on board.
Yeah.
I'm on board. All right, now we got a stew.
Yeah.